Hello Infiniteers, I am back in my toy box adventure for the Nautilus, and I've got Davy Jones with me. And of course he has to stand in the ocean because he's not allowed to set foot on dry land except once every 10 years. But before I continue with the build, I want to make a couple of changes to the beach area here. For one, I've got a little extra memory, so I thought it might be a good idea to throw a couple of rowboats down here on the beach. Just a nice little detail. And by the way, if you do play the game on a system with more memory, then using the terrain blends here along the side would be a good idea as well to make it not look so straight. I'd use the wide circular blend, style this with the Toy Story and Space theme that we're using for the water, and run these down along both directions there, and I think that'll look pretty good. I would love to do that, but I don't have the memory. Alright, so that's the first thing I wanted to do. Second thing I want to do is I want to take this little small floor piece and I want to go down to the diving chamber and plug the hole that leads to the underwater area, because players can't exit the ship right now. There is no underwater area in this toy box, so we need to plug that. So I'm going to style this, and I think we can use the Geonosis Droid Factory floor grate, except we're using that in the engine room. And so to kind of differentiate this from that, I'm thinking we will use one of the other themes, this Echo Base floor grate. We'll use that instead. I'll just apply that. And I think that'll look a little bit better. That kind of looks like a hatch, so I like that. Alright, and because this was originally intended to open that floor grate, but we don't have an underwater area, I want to leave the switch here because we're going to need this in the next level. So it has to be here because it's going to be in the next one. So it's not going to do anything though, so I need to hook this up to something. So I'm going to drop down a text displayer, and we'll just tell the player that they can't use this toy right now. Text displayer. And I'll move this out of the way in a moment. But let's go ahead and set the properties on this. Text duration will be 4. Text style will be banner. And we will set up our lever here. So new logic connection, when pulled down, we'll go down to the negative category, and we'll say not right now. Alright. And then we're also going to need one of these in the engine room. So let me drop that in here. And I'll explain what I'm doing with this a little bit later, but for right now we need to place this somewhere here. I think I'll drop this over here. It's going to be hard to grab that, I think, if I try to stick it in there. So we'll put it here for right now. And on this one, new logic connection when pulled down, because they can't use this right now either. Come over to our text displayer, and under the defense category, I was thinking what we would say is out of resources. We'll do that for right now. And then I'm going to pick this up, and we need to move this out of the way somewhere here. I think I can just drop it right here in the wall. Hooray for gaps. All right, so there we go. That's done. All right, so we put the rowboats on the beach. We closed the hatch. We hooked this up so the player knows they can't use it right now. We put down the hatch we're going to need in the next level, or the lever we're going to need in the next level. So that's here with a text message that says they can't use it right now, and you'll know what that out of resources means when we get to the next level. And so that's everything. At this point, we're ready to move on to the underwater area. So I'm going to go ahead and save my toy box, and then I will push the button inside the wheelhouse to go to the underwater level that I created last time. And so let me do that, and then I'll fast forward and meet you there in a few minutes. Okay, here we are in the underwater area in this level in my toy box adventure. And the first thing I want to do is we need to cover this hatch. So let's take care of that. And once again, we're going to need a floor grate too, so let me apply that. We'll move this one out of the way. And we could even just use that if we wanted. I was thinking I would make it the same texture as this, but I think I might go ahead and leave it like that, just so that it does look like a temporary thing. So, whoops, let me come into the styling menu and just apply this as my theme. And we'll drop another one here, because the player can't exit the ship that direction anymore. At least in this toy box. And then we'll come down here, and we're going to drop this in here, but for right now I'm going to set this out over here, because we're going to put that in later, probably next time, with a path. Alright, and then this switch will activate that path to open the hatch. And I like the idea of having switches in here because it feels like the player is actually using the ship. It's not just scenery, they're interacting with it. Alright, so we have the switch now, which matches the one we put in up top. Okay, now for this level, here's my plan. So Jack comes on the ship and submerges it, right? And if he tries to take the wheel up in the wheelhouse, I'm going to have a message that basically tells him the sub isn't going to be going anywhere. Because it first needs to be repaired. So if he tries to take the wheel, I'll tell him not right now. And there's going to be some radar markers to show him what he needs to do. But basically, Davy Jones's crew broke the sub when they surfaced. And so Jack needs to collect some parts that are going to be lying around inside the sub, and some parts that are going to be scattered outside on the ocean floor. And he needs to collect those parts so he can get the ship working, and then pilot the submarine to its next destination, the next level we're going to build, in his search to find Davy Jones. So that's my plan. And before we start building the seafloor, though, there is a detail in the ship's hull that I missed that Jet Blast 190 reminded me about. So let me position my camera here so we can see the sub. All right. I want you to take a look at the underside of the hull and compare that with what you see in this shot from the movie. Remember, there's a gap in the underside of the hull where the underwater hatch is, and the hull on the right side of the gap is there, but I forgot to build out the hull on the left side of that gap. And unfortunately, I don't think I have the memory to do that on my Wii U. Looking at where the memory is there and what I have left to build for this level to work, I don't think I'm going to have the memory to do that. And so I'm going to wait on this. But Jet Blast 190 sent me some pictures of his build. And so if you want to build that, you can follow what he did. So let me show you his pictures. Here's the profile shot from his build, which shows the gap. And he panned the camera around so we could get a look at it from different angles. And here it is from the front of the Nautilus. Notice the new part he added there at the bottom is 3 blocks wide. And then continuing around to the other side. And here's what it looks like on the opposite side from his first screenshot. And if we zoom in on that front section, you can count the number of blocks that he added, and you can see how they're arranged. Notice the angled blocks on either end of this hull protrusion. And on the other hull protrusion on the back side of the ship, he also added some angled balcony blocks right behind the hatch there so that it matches what's in the movie. And here's another look at that from below, so you can see how wide the gap is and count the number of blocks for the width of the gap. And there's one last shot here of the gap. So if you want to build that, and you're on a system with more memory, I would encourage you to fill out that missing section of the hull. And I may come back and do that myself at the end of my build. I really want to, but it's going to depend on if I have enough memory. So for right now, I'm going to wait. All right, let's start building the ocean floor. And I think the best place to start, we're going to get rid of this little piece of terrain. We're going to drop down another one of these. So we're going to take the ocean floor down to about that level. We can't go too deep because this is just offshore. All right, we're going to bring this piece up. This was the starting piece way back in episode 1 when we first began building this. And I'm going to style this using the Morro Bay Seascape. This is the terrain theme from the Finding Dory playset. If you don't have this theme, you can use the same theme that we used on the beach up above, which is the Lilo's Tropical Paradise. You could use Tatooine Desert. You could use Buried Treasures, or even Desert Landscape. Any of those would work. Whatever you like would be fine. Okay. And I don't want to build a huge area here because we just don't have the memory for that. And we don't need anything as large as we built for the ocean surface last time and on the beach. But I want the player to be able to exit the submarine and walk around and get at least far enough away where they can kind of look up at the ship and admire it, because it looks really cool in the underwater area here. So because of that, I think what we're going to do, let's pick this piece up and let's just put a section of terrain blocks around this. And I think we could even go out this far. Alright, I would not build anything bigger than that. I think that's going to look just fine. One thing, though, is that the ground looks pretty flat. And an underwater area typically would not look this flat. And so what I'm thinking, I don't know if I have the memory for this, but I'm going to try this. Some of these sloped pieces take up a lot of memory, but I want to see how it's going to look. So we're going to grab some of these. Yeah, we're going to have to put a number of these in here, but let's just see how this looks. And we'll see what kind of memory we end up with here. So So far, it's not looking too bad. Just need that to plug a gap. Alright, and I don't want this to look too predictable. So I'm thinking it's got to look organic if we're going to do this at all. Kind of a protruding area there. I'm thinking, oops, too far. Thinking we're going to use this in a moment. Let's put this over. Let's drop this down. I think we're going to drop this down as well. Again, I'm just trying to make this not look so flat. You kind of expect the surface. Of course, the water surface is going to be mostly flat. You would expect the beach to be pretty flat. But underwater, it should be a lot more interesting looking. And I'm watching the memory creeping up there. And I'm getting a little nervous. All right. So that used up a little bit of memory, but I think that looks better to me. It's a little more interesting. I like that. And I'm also thinking I'm looking at the memory, and I probably shouldn't, but I'm thinking what we should do is probably build up a little area here as well on this side. Make this a little higher, because this is going off toward the beach. So I would probably make this just a little bit higher over on this end, if I could. And let me just go ahead and build that, just so you can see what I have in mind. Even if I'm not going to keep it, I think just having it here and putting it together, in case you'd like to do that, you can. And then this piece, I'm thinking even just to save memory, let's put that piece here. Put that piece out here like this. Two flat pieces. Then we'll raise this block up. Like that. Yeah, like that. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and put in with a corner. And we need a little flat section up here. Like that. Okay, so something like that. Oh, and we gotta have a couple of flat pieces over here. Okay, so this looks a little more interesting. All right, so it's sloping down, heading into the ocean, and the underwater sky dome here is perfect because it looks like it continues off into the deep over there, which I really like. But over here you got plants and different things, and it looks like you're heading up closer to the surface. So I really like how the orientation of the sky dome here works with the Hawaiian sky dome in the previous toy box. So that is good. Okay, I like this. Now, I don't have the memory for it, but I would recommend using some of the cliff pieces that we used last time and putting a nice edge on this. So I'm talking about the pieces we used to build the cliffs on the beach, which are these pieces. So I would recommend putting these all the way around the perimeter of your toy box if you have the memory for it. And again, that just puts a nice edge on that from when you're on the surface so it doesn't look flat. I don't have the memory to do that, so unfortunately I can't do that, but I would recommend doing that. And when you come over here, just put a couple pieces along the bottom here, and then you can raise this piece up to this level. So put one up here, the next one over, maybe put down at this level, put them along there like that. Okay, this looks pretty good. I'm just worried about the memory, as always. All right, we need some places for the player to explore out here. So I was thinking maybe one thing we could do is use one of the shipwreck pieces under the set pieces category. Probably the blue one. I'd love to put this at an angle, but I don't think I can do that. We'll put this back over here like that. It just gives someplace interesting for the player to go and explore. And I wouldn't put too many of those around. I think one is sufficient. We're going to be building an area later on where we have our boss battle that's going to have multiple shipwrecks, and it's going to look like a sunken shipyard. That's going to be our boss battle level with Davy Jones, so don't use too many of them here. But I think that would be fine. I think under the buildings category here, these take up a lot of memory, so I would avoid using these. Yeah, don't go anywhere near those. But some of the other things we could put under here. Again, I don't have the memory to do a lot of this, but we can put some plant clusters out here and style these to use the Morro Bay theme. Let's see, where is that? Here it is. That's going to give you just some nice coral reef pieces, which I think would be good. And you might want to place these before you style them, but and I like how it has the little bit of water that's going up from that, so that looks really good to me. Up on top of this hill, let's try using one of these. Yeah, that memory is really creeping up. And you can just place a few of those around your toy box here. I'm not sure how many of these I'm going to be able to do. Probably not too many. I don't think you should probably pack this thing full of plant clusters, because we're near the beach. You're not going to see a lot of stuff on the ocean floor. The tides will keep a lot of things from accumulating. You won't see a lot of debris. You won't see a lot of plants and things collecting. So don't put too much out here, but you need some. You got to make it worthwhile for the player to go exploring. Yeah, memory's getting up there, isn't it? Yeah, I had hoped that I would have more memory here, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this to the degree that I want, because I got to have room yet for the collectibles and a few enemies. So yeah, I think it's very likely that I'm going to have to flatten out some of this, as much as I don't want to do it. Let's see if we can at least flatten out this top area, keep the bottom area intact. Yeah, that helped a little bit, but not a lot. Yeah, see, the other problem though too, I got all this empty space back here. Not a lot to do with it. And I got empty space over here, and I need some things to put in there as well. So yeah, this is a little disheartening. I'm going to have to think about this and what I can do here. Some of the other ideas that I've got, by the way, if you have the Finding Dory playset and you're on console, or even if you don't have the playset, I think some of these are unlocked through the playset. Some of them just you get through the toy store, but you have these different corals. You have different seagrass, seaweed, and things. And you can build a really pretty underwater area here that I think I think would look good. You don't want to go, again, too much, but I think you can probably build enough to make things interesting and make it look good. I'm just not going to be able to do that, and that's a shame. I'm going to have a lot of open area here with not much in it. And it's just not much of a thing I can do about it on my Wii U. But for those of you who are on another console or on PC and you've got more memory, at least you have some ideas of things that you can do with the terrain, with the plants. Oh, another set of things that you could put in your underwater area if you're on a system with more memory. Up under gameplay toys, don't know which way is going to be faster to get to them, but there are some pieces again that came with the Finding Dory playset. And I can't remember again if you unlock these or if you can just buy them out of the toy store, but you may have to play through the playset to unlock them. But you have these little flowers, barnacle clusters, mussels, shells. These are all broken collectibles that you can break. And I think they will add a lot of nice detail in here, so you can make this thing look pretty fantastic. As for me, I'm going to have to think about what I can do here. But I am definitely going to keep the underwater area here and do something with this, even if it doesn't look as populated and as full as I want. Because I think it's going to look really cool to be able to come in and out of the ship into that underwater area, and to be able to go up to the Grand Salon. And look out at the toy box that we've built. I mean, this is part of what I was looking forward to with my toy box. So you want to be able to see some stuff out there, so when we place things in the underwater area, like those corals over there, I might want to move some, put some down here below the windows so we can see them. But I think this is a good stopping point for today. Next time I will revisit the beach there, the outdoor area, and see what I can do with that. And then, given time, I'll implement the logic for opening the underwater hatch and collecting the parts and repairing the ship. And if we have the memory for it, I'll put in some enemy wave generators too. Until then, I want to thank you for watching. Before you go, please leave a comment to let me know what you think of my underwater reef and my toy box adventure so far. And if you've got some ideas for what I can do with my underwater area that won't take up a ton of memory, I'd love to hear them. As always, if you enjoy Disney Infinity and you like my toy box designs, please like this video and subscribe for more content like this. That's all for me today. I'll see you next time.